I'm Dan Fitzpatrick at stockmarketmentor.com, and let's go with Circle Internet today. Now, I've talked about this before. I think I just covered it last week, but I'll just give you the heads up as far as how we traded it at Stock Market Mentor. People made a boatload of money on this, and if you didn't, you're probably not a member of SMM because I kicked this trade out to everybody at 119.06. And I will just say this, and then I want to get on with this. It's a little bit of a shameless plug. If you had been a member of Stock Market Mentor, this is the kind of money you could have made, but you weren't, so you didn't. You can fix that for literally $7. It's kind of one of those things where you have to feel a little bit dumb if you're not taking advantage of that. If you don't have $7, you're probably not really trading. So with that said, let's get going. So I was looking at this at 119.06, and the reason was it was just kind of, you could see here this on a 1 hour chart, but it just really started to pop up here, and volume was increasing. And so that looked like a pretty good entry to me. These stocks, these IPOs like this, for crying out loud, man, they're super, super volatile. And so it's really important to get a good entry. But once you're in, you got to really, really watch this thing. And when you can, just literally pound the snot out of it and see how much money you can get on this trade. So this is what we did. We're in here at 119.06, and I set the alert, the stop actually for way down here at 118.775. So let's say we're in here 108.75. So we've got about an 8 or a 9% risk, about a 9% risk on this trade. And then the stock ultimately really blasted off from that level, and at one point was up 40% today. And so we took some profits. I sent out a note this morning telling people one way to take profits is just sell into strength, because this kind of stuff doesn't last. Or you can use the volume weighted average price to do that. And so this is my little explanation here. So this is the daily chart for your reference. Then I'm going to the 5-minute, the 15, and then the 30-minute chart today. So this little orange line here is the volume weighted average price. It's a moving average based on the price, the average of all the shares traded that day. What was their average price? So for example, if we're looking at this, 156.20 is the VWAP. So by the end of the day, the average price of all shares traded today was 156.20. Now, you'll notice that the stock is below here by about $5. Earlier in the day, that volume weighted average price was up at 158. I think at one point it was up. That was about it. So volume weighted average price came down just a little bit. But the idea for selling into strength for me on these big rocket ships is, rather than just reflexively sell, instead, look at this as it relates to the volume weighted average price, and then say, all right, as long as the stock is above the average price based on volume, that means that buyers are still buying the stock. Whenever the stock comes back down to like where the average price is, more buyers are coming in. So the stock's going back up, and it's dragging the VWAP up with it. It's up a little bit here. Again, 15-minute chart. So you can say, all right, I'm not just going to sell. I'm going to wait and see if this stock falls below the volume weighted average price, because if or when it does, and I mean, ultimately it's going to do that. If it does, then I know that the big the big buying pressure has basically waned, because this stock is now drifting lower. And then at that point, the selling pressure is probably going to start kicking in more, because this is such a big, high flyer that a lot of traders have a lot of profit, and so they're not going to let it slip away. So in other words, this would hold up. But then once it doesn't hold up, and ultimately it kind of doesn't here. Once it doesn't hold up, then suddenly what had been a buying area here is now a selling area here. And once this is tested and it starts to move lower again, you're going to get an acceleration of selling pressure simply because people don't want to see their profits go away. And so my suggestion to people back here was, okay, as long as the stock stays above the volume weighted average price, then just go ahead and stay long, because I mean, look what it did Friday. It stayed above the VWAP all day long. Didn't even come close to it. So this would have been one where, am I selling into strength? I don't think so. This is a 20% gain just on Friday. But then today you see a total change in character. Same thing here on the 30-minute chart. This is a 15, this is a 30. You see a total change in character in this stock, where once it's fallen below the volume weighted average price, then whenever it gets back up to there, sellers say, okay, well, now we're back at the average price of the day, so now I'm going to sell. Used to be, we're back at the average price of the day, I'm going to buy. So this is totally flipped on its head. All right. So at this point, what are you going to do? Okay. You don't buy the stock here. For crying out loud, the thing could gap up to 198 tomorrow. Who knows? It's a really volatile stock, but you got to be just protecting your positions. Only take the best entries, and the best entries are ones that you can define where the oh crap, I'm wrong level is. So my suggestion here is, if you're already in the stock, go ahead and stay in, but keep a stop like maybe somewhere down below, like today's intraday low. That way you avoid this unhappy scenario of the stock coming down to fill the gap. Other than that, I would just wait. And members, I know you guys watch these freebies too. I'll be around tomorrow and we'll look at this and see if we can make another trade on this. And by the way, as I always say, in stocks like this, you want to keep kind of a core position, or you could say a legacy position or something. In other words, you can go ahead and treat it as a trade, but then don't sell 100% ever. As long as the trend's working, instead sell like 80%. You keep 20, and then you can trade around it, but at least it's on your screen. So, all right, that's all I got for you. Again, guys, seriously, join Stock Market Mentor. It's basically a free trial. I think it's $7. You can afford that. Join Stock Market Mentor and let's go make some money, okay? I'll see you next time.